Hello and welcome to another episode of Cool Bodies Club, episode 7. Gosh,
Yikes.
How far we've come. Hey, what are some awesome things that our listeners could do for us, Sarah?
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
That's a very good idea.
Yes.
What's another excellent idea for something they could do?
Leave a bloody banging review.
Leave an absolute banger of a review, whatever it is you just subscribe to get your podcasts.
Yeah.
What a great idea. Cool, that's probably enough of that. Let's get on with the show, shall we?
Cool Bodies Club is a monthly podcast that celebrates bodies because we believe that all bodies are cool bodies.
This episode was recorded on the 21st of June 2019. Hi everyone.
Hello. Howdy. Howdy doody. Howdy doody.
Oh, damn.
Okay then.
Howdy doody.
Would anyone like to stick a hand up in the air and volunteer to be first for Where's Your Body At?
I will.
Put your hand up in the air.
I will put both my hands up in the air.
Say yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like you just don't care with those hands up there.
Well, I have been caring about my period. So
Oh,
I've been-
segue.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have been trying to track it using an app called Clue. I was talking with Melody from the Bang podcast about, she mentioned on her Twitter, which is Melody Rules, you'll find it if you search that she uses an app to track hers, and I was just like, what one have you been using? And so I've been trying to use Clue. I've tried a couple.
Okay.
So I've been trying to use one called Clue just to give me a clue about what the hell is going on.
See what they did there.
Yeah, with my body. And there's these things that you can track, like you enter the data on the day and you can tell how your bleeding's been, how your pain's been, what are your emotions. But the emotions are only happy, sensitive, sad, and PMS.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's a little room for movement there.
There is, and it's like throughout the day it changes. I'm like,
Isn't PMS quite a vague term as well, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because that can manifest in different ways.
because I've kind of had it for like the last week, and it's only supposed to happen maybe the day before.
And I guess also you can have just emotions generally, not just when you're PMSing.
Yeah.
Nope, not allowed.
I mean, there's solid ones that you can do with like how many hours have you slept, but then there's have you been energized? Are you high energy? Are you low energy? Are you exhausted? Are you focused or distracted? And I'm like, I go through all of these emotions all day.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have many questions.
Uh-huh.
What is the sort of ultimate goal of tracking your period? Apart from just the practicalities of knowing when it's coming.
Which is quite a
is
big
the-
one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
imagine
'cause
that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're prepped and ready and you kind of know
Like
what's
I
going
stocked
on.
up on my tampons.
I've got my tampons or whatever.
Well, but also you can kind of make adjustments in your diary, so to speak. If you're like, would you go as far as doing that? Like,
Well, I'm just kind of interested to
not
see.
like taking a day off, but just being
it
like,
depends
okay,
on who
this
you
might be
are,
happening.
because I think
Yeah.
for everybody a period manifests in quite a different way. So I think some people feel their emotions quite strongly at certain times, and whereas other people don't so much.
And I think I do, but I think I have a week lead up to my period, where I'm just like hectic,
Really?
hectic AF.
Like emotionally.
Yeah. And
Do you think it's hectic, or do you think it's just
I don't know. Well, that's
a
why
lot of emotions?
I've only tracked it for a month, and so far I'm on day 34, and generally cycles are supposed to be 28 days. I don't know. But the funny thing is, it's like normally if you're a heterosexual, it'd be like, oh no,
Oh, I'm late.
I'm a bit late. But sometimes
yeah.
my body's 28 days, sometimes it's 34. I don't know. It's all over
It's
the
good
show.
to know also, because that is indicative of things too. It can be, I think. So if you're like late or early. Or
Well, I
whatever.
have been a bit stressed this week.
Yeah, so it could be indication of those things. I'm not too sure, but
yeah. No, neither am I. And that's why I'm tracking it.
see if there's patterns.
I did notice that when I was in my fertile window, as described by the app, I did think about babies more.
Interesting.
It was
yeah,
very
that's
interesting.
a thing.
Are you baby crazy? Is that official?
Wow, you really took that quite like.
Well,
to
I
the
did think about
extreme.
having babies, but I don't know
Yeah.
if I want babies. Oh, I don't have to have it. Like,
No, you can do it.
I might just take the opportunity to skip back to when we were going, oh, I'm late for the hetero people, and just be like, that's not always a happy time.
no.
So just acknowledge that probably as well.
Yeah, well, in my current situation, that's not a problem for me. So,
No.
but that's where my body's at. I'm trying to figure out my period. Maybe I'll come back at a later date when I've done it more than just
Yeah,
one
come
month.
back and check in.
Mike, where's your body at?
Well, I've got little feet. I've got tiny wee feet.
Like
That's where my body's at.
your foots.
Yeah, and that's a thing, I suppose. I suppose it's something I wanted to say.
What is your thing about your feet being small? Because there's cultural
Do
stuff.
you have a thing?
Oh no, I don't mind at all. But like I've got small feet. That's what I have. I'm
Yeah.
not like super short or anything like that. And sometimes your feet and your height are linked or something like that. But I've just
Yeah.
got little feet. And it's just because the reason I bring it up and thought it'd be interesting to talk about is I don't have a long list of times when I have felt any kind of prejudice from the mainstream or society. But, and it's never really struck me until now, but they don't make men's shoes in my size.
Ah.
That's a thing.
Ah.
That is a thing.
What size foot are you?
You know, like 6 UK,
really?
7 US.
Yeah, that's the same size as me.
Loads of men's, in inverted commas, shoes don't go to a 7, a US 7.
And you can buy kiddies' shoes.
Sometimes I get a tax break on my shoes. That's nice. When I buy Nike skate shoes.
Yeah, because I buy kiddie shoes.
Yeah, I
It's
get kids'
UK,
shoes in
so,
Nike.
yeah.
You might buy kid shoes.
Well, yeah, like in the UK, you can get like size 6 UK and a kid size.
My skate shoes that I bought were literally, they were in the shop on 2 separate shelves. Exactly the same. The kids' ones were $75 and the adult ones were $150.
Oh, score.
So that's kind of good. But yeah,
Score.
it was
Oh, it's bloody score.
it's just kind of interesting. And sometimes when I'm in the shops, I'm just like, because I'll quite often look in
Yeah.
the women's bit
Yeah.
for like male-ish styles.
yeah.
Like when I was, I've been going on about getting Chelsea boots for ages.
I think you've been talking about that for 3 years.
Yeah, a good long while. Well, you know why? Because they don't make them in my size.
Really?
It's really
They make kids ones.
the ones
though.
I've got a little bit too big. I've got to wear 2 pairs of socks. Kids ones have always got zips on them, or they look dumb. Ladies ones have always got a bit of a heel, just a little bit
Little
too
bit of
much,
pink, something
little bit
going
too
on.
much more heel than I'm looking for, and they're also real narrow. I'm just in like feet no man's land.
Oh, okay.
The size of my feet is not compatible with any brand really. And
Mm.
the reason I thought of it was because I think I'm sure I was on the phone to you, or I messaged you or something like that, because I was feeding my wee baby in the little chair
Oh,
would be
yeah,
feed her, and
yeah,
it was
I've got a
across
picture of it.
it's across the way from our shoe rack.
The op shop.
And I was no, across the way from the shoe rack, my shoe rack.
Sorry,
And
I
I
hear
was-
a lot of op shop
And I was
stories
looking
too.
at it, and my running shoes,
Yeah.
ladies, because I cannot get men's running shoes in my size. My cycling shoes, like my SPDs, the clippy-on ones, women's, they don't make them in men's
Yeah.
in my size. My gym shoes, they were women's. My slips are kids. They're from the kids section of the
Yeah.
warehouse. And I think I had 1 pair of men's shoes. Not that they all should be. Or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Does
but
it make you
just,
feel a thing? Do you have a feeling about it?
all it makes me feel is a little bit of empathy for when I hear stories of people who are plus size or whatever, or
Yeah.
people who are tall, or people who are particularly small, and when they're feeling like they're outside the norm.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel prejudice, just by the way, because of this.
Yeah.
It's a slight inconvenience for me, but it gave me an insight a little bit into
Yeah.
what that feels
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to be.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my story about my little feet.
Sarah, where's your body at?
Well, this time actually last year, my granddad passed away, and he was a really good buddy. You know, he was like a awesome pal, and it's just been a little bit tricky, like it being a year and acknowledging that time frame, and all the kind of emotions come up, and the sadness, and I guess the feeling of missing someone that you really love. And it's definitely affected my body. You know, it's like I think that grief and like missing someone is like connected in a bodily way.
How have you felt it in your body?
I think just that kind of general sadness, you know, and like because my granddad was such a supportive person and he's such a sweet man that it's just like this weird, I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint the feeling, but it's like just missing someone, but it's an emotion, but it's in your body.
Is there describe what happens in your body? Like, I don't want to give you any. Like, is it weighty? Is it a lack? Is it
Just like meh.
yeah?
Don't know.
Not
I
a
feel like
depression or
No, it's just like, don't know.
It's quite amazing, that connection between sort of anniversaries of things like that, especially anniversaries of losing people, or potentially even anniversaries of breakups or things like that, where
Absolutely, yeah.
I think I find it's happening to me before I recognize that that's what's happening to me, because then I go,
Yeah.
oh, of course it's
Yeah, you
That's-
get a clue, you get an indication,
Yeah, you're just
maybe
like,
in the
what
way
is-
you feel. And
Mm.
I don't think you can really separate your cognitive missing from the way that you feel in your body about it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a hard thing to talk about, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's I mean, there definitely is a feeling in your body, and there's a feeling of missing a body, you know,
yeah, a
per-
presence or
a
something.
presence.
Yeah.
Are you?
dunno.
Are you? Do you think you might do something on the day itself, or has the day passed?
It's past.
It's
yeah,
past
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Did
yeah.
you? Did you do anything sort of
We
specific? or
celebrated
just-
Granddad's birthday, which was a week before his death.
Yeah.
So we didn't really do much on the anniversary of his, death, but we had a good big celebration for his birthday, which was sweet.
It's awesome.
That's a
Yeah.
nice way to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But it does feel really strange, like a whole year without someone that you just always knew.
Mm.
You know, it's such a strange thing.
And he sort of started you on your social justice path. Can you tell us about that sort of
Yeah,
stuff?
he
Yeah.
definitely did. Yeah. Well, I was quite a sassy small person. With
No.
Get out of here.
a lot of opinions, and I felt really strongly about social justice issues as a young person, and then also environmental issues and things like that. And so whenever I went to go see my granddad, he would take me to the Greenpeace headquarters and I'd pick up little stickers and information and learn all of that, learn about lots of stuff and have all this guff, and then I'd take it back to school, and I made an environment club.
So this is your second cool club that you've made. Wow.
It's like history
Okay.
repeating itself.
What did you give yourself a title? Were you like
It was just the
director,
environment club or something. Maybe I did. Yes.
queen?
Yeah. Head honcho, Beyonce. I don't know. And anyway, so my granddad really fostered that in me, and he really encouraged me to have these opinions and fight for people's rights, and to, I don't know, just care about others. And I think I stopped being super involved in that aspect of me, because I think it's quite a natural place for me to be in, until recently. And so even just doing Cool Bodies Club has felt really connected with my granddad as well. So
Oh, that's cool.
That's so awesome.
That's quite a lovely thing. And I sort of wish I could tell him about it, because I think he'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
He'd be like,
girl.
all bodies are cool bodies. He'd probably be our first Instagram follower. So
Yeah.
I'm not kidding either. He's all of the things.
And what was his name again?
Bill.
Bill.
Well,
Yeah.
Bill's on an episode now. Should we raise a glass to
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
So coming up, who, Sarah, are you interviewing today?
Oh
Oh,
my-
interesting question.
Very interesting question, Sarah.
I'm interviewing Mike Field.
Oh, I know that guy. It's me.
That guy.
So essentially, we're interviewing each other, ourselves.
We're going to be answering the questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Basically.
Sarah's questions are going to be inflicted on all three of us.
And we all feel nervous.
It is a little bit nerve-wracking, but
Yeah.
it's, important to do. And so you just get a little bit of insight into us.
Bit of insight.
Yeah,
A little insight.
Oh, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
Toot toot. All aboard the advert train. You've listened to podcasts before. You knew an advert was coming. Well, here it is. You're in it. This episode and this season, in fact, is brought to you by Mooma.co.nz, our wonderful partners for season 1. They specialise in non-essential items for modern day living.
They are an online store based in Wellington, New Zealand.
And what they do is seek out beautiful and practical things for you to love and treasure. Things that aren't the essentials in life, Sarah, but they make our lives more pleasant, so why the hell not? And what could be more pleasant than a Cool Bodies Club and Mooma sock review? Sarah, you've picked your favourite sock in the current Mooma lineup. What have you got to tell us about it?
Oh, well, I do love the Obus Koyo sock, gotta say.
It's a treat. Tell us more.
Aggressively stripy and on sale at just $12.
Oh, what an absolute
the heck?
Billy bargain.
Billy old bargain.
Fantastic.
Bloody lovely on your wee tootsies, that's what I have to say.
They look very fun. I enjoy them, like a comfy old carpet. I'm gonna go with though something in the slightly different end of the scale, something a little bit more ritzy. It's the Hansel from Basil pink Linia short crew socks. They are a kind of salmon with a black pinstripe. It's a sharp pinstripe. It says, "I'm ready for business, but also there's a very good chance I might be made of licorice." They look quite delicious. So there we are. That's our pick of socks from the current Mooma lineup. Go to mooma.co.nz, get some socks on you. There we are.
Be cool.
Be cool. Thanks, Mooma. Should we just pretend we just walked into the room?
Oh, golly.
Oh, it's you.
Oh my goodness
Hi,
gracious
Sarah.
me. You're definitely not wearing PJ pants right now.
Nope. Nope. Full
no.
tux. White tux.
A bow tie.
Spats.
Looking great.
Thanks. Top hat. White top hat with a white suit. I'll introduce myself then, shall I? I'm Mike. I'm one of the hosts of Cool Bodies Club. You probably know that by now. I'm father of a couple of children. I'm spent a long time being a musician back in Scotland, which is where I'm from. I was a broadcaster over here in New Zealand. I broadcasted, I did a breakfast show on RDU here in Christchurch for 2.5 years. I've run a charity. I've managed a few restaurants. It's not very interesting.
It's quite interesting.
It's quite interesting. And yeah, I'm the spreadsheet organizer. I'm the maker of things happening kind of thing.
You definitely are.
I wait for people to have amazing ideas and then go, right, where does that go in the diary though? Let's put it in the diary and then let's do it.
Let's put a date on it. Let's color code that.
Let's color code it.
Theme.
So I guess that's what I am.
Cool.
What else do I need to say? I like to go snowboarding. Snowboarding is fun. I like the mountains.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of
that's what I
thought
am.
it might be it might be nice just to chat about how we know each other. I'm actually just trying to think how we do know each other. It was literally just through working together.
No.
Was it? Or
The first time we met was when I was on RDU. You came in for an interview.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You were running your courses, Electronic Music for Women.
I was.
And interestingly enough, we dealt with some sort of...
A bit of an aftermath.
No, not so much an aftermath, but we looked at the texts afterwards. I don't know if you remember. So you were running a course which was designed to expose more women to digital music production, which is at the moment is a heavily male-dominated
100%,
space.
Yeah.
And we had some people texting in, some guys, some gentlemen texting in.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were being aggressive, but they were they weren't being aggressive as such. Or they weren't wrong. But they were kind of saying something along the lines of, why does it have to be just for women? Why can't it be for everyone?
Yeah.
And it's kind of we talked about it at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Years before we even actually were friends or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And any of this kind of stuff. But we had a really good chat about it, and it was like, well, if you don't make those spaces for women in that industry, it just will only be a men's space. And every other course is arguably a course for men.
Yeah. And the feedback that I was kind of getting, was that women actually just didn't feel, maybe safe's not the right word, but just
probably
comfortable or welcome. And it was like this sort of mansplainy scenario where, it just wasn't quite right for them. So,
but yeah, so we met. That was when we first met, I think.
Yeah.
And then we ended up working together at a youth charity for 3 years, which is at times difficult, but ultimately awesome experience.
Yeah, it was.
Because here we are.
Yeah, totally. And I think
some tough times.
was.
TBH.
Yeah, and I think we, established like a pretty special working relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
We were both into Gallup Strengths Finder pretty hard.
Yeah, and we had the polar opposite.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. Do you remember your top one? Strategy, isn't it?
Strategy.
You were strategy, and I was
do.
Oh my top one was restorative.
Yeah.
Problem solving.
So now when we work together, it's like often I have a idea or a thought process about something, like with Cool Bodies, and then Mike literally helps me to make that happen because I'm actually not that. I'm not that skilled at that other part of it, but Mike helps to drive things.
But we are, there's a codependent thing almost because we need to have.
We need each other.
We need both things. We need you to be going, this thing's going to happen and it's going to be this and that.
Yeah.
Because I can't do that.
Yeah, and I can't do charts.
do the nagging. Like, this happens on Tuesday. And
It's
I'll
like,
just put this over
I'll
here.
start doing a chart, and then I'll watch something on something else, and then
Mm.
I'll buy something online, and then I'll go do my dishes, or I don't know.
And so that's where we are. And we ended up talking
Yeah.
so many chats about cool bodies.
Oh, we did,
Because I
yeah.
was just a big consumer of podcasts. I always have been.
Yeah.
Well, that's not actually true.
Yes.
I was into podcasts at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
When Ricky
yeah.
Gervais, I think, was doing a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to that.
Was it a funny one, or is he more serious?
No, it was quite funny.
Yeah. That's his thing, right?
I think it was when they introduced Carl Pilkington, that character. But anyway,
I have no idea who that is.
That was so long ago.
Yeah.
But it was back in the day. It was just a bit of a pain in the arse to listen to. It was pre-iPhones.
Yeah.
It was really difficult to listen to podcasts, and I just lost
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
And I knew it was growing, but I just didn't give
Yeah.
a shit. I listened to Radio 4 in the UK, and that was all I needed.
And then
That was my jam.
all of a sudden you had me coming to you like, my head against the wall, trying to figure out how the hell is going to make this podcast
Well,
work.
I think I'd been listening to them by then. I'm probably like 3 years deep, 2 or 3
right,
years
yeah.
deep into my sort of podcast resurgence,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was consuming them a lot. And you came to me talking about this thing, going about all these difficult chats. And I was just like, oh, that sounds fucking hard.
It was.
Glad I'm not doing that. Woo!
And then I roped you in.
Yeah, that happened. I
Yeah.
said, I'll help you do some planning.
Oh,
Or
I'll,
facilitate your
I'll
planning.
sort your post-it notes out.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll sort the
color
post-it
code
notes out.
them and put
But
them
then
into charts.
The more we talked about the thing, the more we had conversations about the subject matter, and then I was
Yeah.
just in by that point. I was
Yeah,
like, Shall I
yeah.
just pull up a microphone?
Just
now?
worked.
Yeah.
It did. It's kind of summary.
And here we are.
Yeah. And now I'm interviewing Mike.
Yeah, now this
So
is
it's a
happening.
thing.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah, neither.
Didn't
I feel
sign
quite
up for
nervous
this.
about mine. Oh, jeez Louise. Yeah. So
I've heard the questions before. I know what you're going to ask me. But let's
maybe I'll mix it up
let's-
so
no,
you
don't
get
mix it up.
surprised. You get surprised.
No, I've got a plan.
No surprises,
Don't
okay.
change it.
The first question that I have for you today, Mike, is what is a lie that you have been told about having a body?
Gosh, what a meaty question.
It's a juicy question.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Mm.
This is probably the question that I struggled the most
Oh,
with.
really?
Yeah, I was stuck on this one for ages.
Yeah. It is a tricky
I was having a little
question.
think about it the other day.
Yeah.
I'm in a weird position in this podcast because
Yeah.
I'm a cisgendered,
Yeah.
straight white man.
Yeah, you are.
So,
Yeah.
and we had a great conversation
Yeah.
about that when we were considering me coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
Do you remember
we
that?
did.
It was just
I
like, is
don't
that
remember that
appropriate?
conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I can't
Yeah.
remember the ins and outs of it, but we
Yeah.
talked about whether that was a good idea or not,
Okay.
whether I should
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
But I think what we
Yeah.
ended up deciding, or what we ended up talking about, was at least if someone who looks and sounds like me is engaged in these conversations, then that's probably a good thing in a kind of like
Absolutely.
not example kind of way. That's
Well, no, I think
silly,
it
but-
is because, there's lots of people who aren't having these conversations, and potentially a straight white, cisgendered male doesn't have to be having these conversations necessarily, and you are. And I guess also from a personal point of view, this podcast has been a bit of a response, I guess, to me and my life. And, you definitely have been someone that I go to talk to about these things and have listened to me in ways that I really needed to be listened to.
Oh,
And
that's good.
so it feels right for me to have you here.
But yeah, I guess that was it as well. Like we were
Yeah.
having the chats, so
Yeah,
it seemed
exactly.
right. Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that's a sort of disclaimer that I'll probably repeat as I'm answering these
Yeah,
questions.
and that's
but
cool that you you do.
It's acknowledging privilege, right? That's what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the biggest lie I've been told about bodies. The answer I ended up on was a bit of a cliche.
Yeah.
I think most of our guests have said pretty
Yeah.
much the same thing. But the lie about bodies is that there is such a thing as an ideal body.
Mm.
When I was a younger man,
Yeah.
I used to read Men's Health quite a lot, and I was sort of seeing these images of just everyone ripped as, just looking amazing, shaving tips. I still don't
What's
need
a
them.
shaving tip?
I don't know, like how to do it properly.
Oh, shaving tips.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I thought of it as
Not
like
about how
a
to shave
tip
tips.
of a shaving thing or
No,
something.
no, like how to do good shaving. I got real into it. Like
Yeah.
I was killing myself when I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
Like I was, this is such an embarrassing thing to admit. I was exercising so much, and I was
Mm.
I was ripped. Like I was in really good shape for a while, in my late teens, my early 20s. I was drumming a lot back then as well,
Yeah.
so that was quite a good workout. But I was just exercising all the time under the belief, I was just like, I had this very simple equation in my stupid 18-year-old meathead. If I look like the guys in Men's Health, ladies
I know
will
where
want
this
to
is going. Yeah.
ladies will want to get busy with Mike. That's the maths. There's the simple maths.
You're like Virgoing a relationship
Yeah, well,
stuff.
basically, yeah.
Mm.
And
Did you find that?
No,
that
it's not
was
true.
the case?
no, it didn't work out so well. I mean, it did, but it didn't. It was
Yeah.
but it's
It did.
it's
Do you
funny.
wanna tell us more about that, or not really?
Oh, I'm just so I'm just a better person in relationships than a single person, if you know what I mean. I don't have the numbers
Yeah.
that I was looking for, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, right. So but you are, you're a relationship kind of
In terms of
person.
time served, yeah, I think I ran the maths on that the other day. I think it was like since I was 19, I've not been in a relationship for 1 year,
Yeah.
and that was 3 different sort
Jesus.
of relationships.
Yeah.
Nearly 10 years with my.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh,
Congratulations.
thanks. So yeah, that's the lie that I've been told, that there's an ideal body.
Yeah.
I probably still, in fact, there's no probably about it. I still
Mm.
have an idea of what an ideal body is.
Yeah.
It's very specific, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's Brad Pitt from Fight Club. Only in Fight Club.
Mm.
That's if I had it, that's what I'm.
Like what you would like to attain, or what you think the
Yeah.
ideal body is.
No, that's me
Do
personally.
you have a little bit of a crush on Brad Pitt?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Helena Bonham Carter, but
Oh, yeah,
specifically
such a babe.
from
Yeah.
Fight Club.
Yeah. She's fierce.
Maybe I'm still doing the math that if I look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, then Helena Bonham Carter from Fight Club.
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
I'm ever gonna look like Brad Pitt.
No, I don't think you are. I think that's.
I
a
was just
stretch.
thinking in relation to Helena, but anyway.
Oh yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it made me think of when I was thinking of the ideal body as well.
Yeah.
It made me think of. Have you heard of the comedian Dylan Moran?
Yeah.
Dylan Moran has a stand-up show called Monster from back in the, I think, early 2000s or something like that.
Yeah.
And he talked about the ideal body, people going to the gym and
Yeah,
punishing
yeah.
themselves. And he kind of made a really cool observation where he said, the word that people are missing out is ideal.
Yeah.
If you could have an ideal body, you could have anything.
Yeah.
And then he goes into explain. He says, for example, maybe you just want one eye. You probably only need one. And then he says, a sucker thing instead of teeth, because teeth just give you grief in the end, really. It's just a whole lot of nonsense. And then he says, and finally, maybe like a long, long tube with my arse way over there, so I don't have to deal with it. That would be ideal. So that's
That's a
that's an ideal
reframe,
body.
and
Yeah.
I like that, because it's that thinking about things in a different way. I don't know. We're really attached to certain things, and that's cool. I like what he says.
Yeah,
It's
look
just-
up Dylan Moran Monster on YouTube. It's there. It's really funny.
That's
it's a very good show.
awesome. What is the coolest thing about being in your body?
Well, this is going to sound a bit flippant and silly. It's quite good at tricks.
Oh, cool. What kind of tricks? I don't know this. Like skateboarding tricks. Or...
Well, yeah, it's this kind of relates to what I was talking about with
Yeah.
snowboarding and things like that.
Yeah.
What my favorite thing to do, something that drives me is learning to do something that I couldn't do yesterday. And that
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
it's usually physical for me,
Yeah.
So I've always been a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I was a rollerblader for a while. I've been into snowboarding for a long, long time. And when I'm snowboarding, I'm spending a lot of my time in like the park,
Yeah.
on the obstacles, trying to slide along on things, trying to do something that I couldn't do today. And it's a weird thing. There's like some intense joy that I get from landing a trick that I couldn't do earlier that
Yeah.
day or the day before. It's just this huge welling of
Yeah.
adrenaline or something.
Bodily version of fixing a problem.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Almost.
If you want to
It's like,
if you want to get it on brand, then yeah, it is.
gonna learn a thing.
I can't
gonna
do this.
execute it,
And then I can, and then I fix the problem, and then it's solved. Yeah.
try a new one.
I'm gonna try-
after I
yeah,
solved
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And then you try to add something to that. You try
Yeah.
and turn out of it the opposite way, or you try and
Yeah.
turn into it the opposite way, or you try and do it switch, or like the other way
Yeah.
around, or something like that. So, Yeah, and it's the same with I'm really into, again, on brand. I'm really into solving Rubik's cubes.
Yeah, no.
There is a joy
Yeah.
that I cannot explain with words
Mm.
when you smash the timer and you've cut half a second off your time
Yeah.
or something like that. Every time I do we call it in the game a sub 30. Every time I smash a sub 30, that's under 30 seconds, I'm just like, yes. It's
Thrilling.
It's like a very, very small scale adrenaline junkie,
Mm.
you know? Like quite a niche. Some people jump out of planes with parachutes on.
Yeah.
I like to land something with a backside 180 out, or I like to bang out a sub 30 solve, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It
that's
makes
kind of-
sense.
So I think
Yeah.
I like doing tricks.
Cool. That's
That's
cool.
pretty much it.
Have you ever had any difficult experiences relating to your body, and like how did you manage that? What were your
So again, I've just got a regular common or garden body really at the moment. I
Yeah.
suppose it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
how I
yeah.
feel in this space.
yeah?
But I've never broken a bone or anything like that.
Wow.
I don't know how. I broke my nose in primary school.
Okay, I broke my middle finger and I had to get an X-ray once where I was doing the fingers.
Were you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, you must have felt like a pretty bit of a
I felt pretty awesome about it. I was 14, so it was really on point at the time.
What I have kind of difficult experiences I've had in my body have kind of involved connecting my head to my body,
Yeah.
connecting my brain to my body.
Yeah.
And they've been grief, I suppose. They've been episodes of grief. Two big sort of episodes of different kinds of grief, I suppose. Very much.
Yeah.
I just halfway through my fourth year at uni, halfway through my honours year, had a really, really bad breakup with my first girlfriend.
Yeah, that's really hard.
And that was a total surprise to me. And that affected me quite badly and took a lot of years
Yeah.
to get over.
I understand that.
More years than I thought
yeah.
was happening. I was like, I'm fine, but then it would come back at me years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I later on, so that was a long time ago. That was,
Yeah.
geez, when was I in uni? I was 24 or something like
Yeah.
that.
You
So
guys have been
12
together
years,
for a
yeah.
while though, right? And it
Yeah, we had been
Yeah.
together for 5 years. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so she was my first girlfriend and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So anyway, that was grim and knocked me down, and I didn't deal with it very well.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, I lost my best mate
Yeah.
to suicide.
Yeah.
Which is all kinds of complicated.
Mm.
And I grieved for those two different things in very different ways.
Yeah.
And now looking back on it, I think I definitely did better with the second grief, so that's good.
Right.
Dealing with the first thing was I kind of consumed myself with finishing uni
yeah.
and heaps of booze. Pretty much.
It's a thing.
It was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing. That's how I ended up coming through. I ended up with a first. Like, I don't know how. Because I just
Kept that one
I just
under wraps.
consumed.
Yeah.
I allowed myself to be completely
Yeah.
consumed by finishing the last
That's
of that
cool.
year, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was the third time I'd been to uni.
Mm.
The first two times
Oh.
we don't talk about. They didn't go so well. But it was
It's good
like,
you give things a try.
but yeah, well, I've got very understanding parents who I owe a lot to. But I couldn't let it beat what I'd been working for all those
Yeah.
years, you know?
Yeah.
So that happened. I also rebounded quite quickly into a relationship that I was not a very good participant in,
Mm.
and I don't feel super good about.
Yeah.
Like,
it's-
nothing
You don't really
awful,
process
but just
things when you
nothing
just
good
bounce
either.
from one to the
Yeah,
next.
it was-
You know,
I
you
was
need
just-
to do that
well, I
personal
just-
growth and
I'd just come out of 5 years.
yeah.
I was just like, well, without girlfriend, what am I? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was hectic and really hard. And yeah, what I should have done at that point is what I worked out about a year or two later was that I
Yeah.
actually needed to learn how to just be by myself
just be
before I could
you,
be anyone.
like,
Exactly.
you
Like,
know?
I had no idea.
What that looked like.
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Mm.
So yeah, that was a difficult experience, and I guess it's mostly related to my mind, but I was having direct physical impact on my body because of what I was doing to it, you know.
Yeah.
And then what happened with when I lost my mate back in 2016 as well, that was, as suicides tend to be, pretty unexpected. And there was a lot of stuff leading up to it, which had been hard to deal with as well. But grief at that point hit me in a very strange and very specific way, which was I took a week off work. I took my credit card and I went to Mitre 10 and bought a ton of wood and nails and roofing and cladding and all this kind of stuff. And I built the shed, the workshop that I've been...
I remember that.
That I'd been meaning to build for
and you did
like
it with
2
a friend,
years.
right?
Yeah, me and my mate Colin.
Yeah.
He's an architect, which is why my shed has...
It's really legit.
3 gigantic windows in it. It's got floor-to-ceiling windows on one side. It's a pretty lush shed.
So fancy.
That's because of an architect got involved and he was like, oh, yeah, okay, we can do this.
I've got a vision.
I've got a vision. It's still tiny. It's like a tiny shed, like a tiny house. But anyway, I'd been putting that off. So I did that. And I had a tattoo that I'd been thinking about getting for ages. And I got that. And I dealt with it in a more positive way.
Yeah.
I didn't, I don't know if there's any such thing as good grief, but grief manifests in funny ways. And that was just what I needed to do. I knew I needed to do that.
You really listened to yourself a lot at that time, I think.
Yeah.
Like you was really proactive. And I think like when that was happening for you, you just were at one with the emotions you were having and you did things about that.
Because I was thinking about him constantly the whole time, but I just needed something to do, something to build, something to fix while I was processing this thing that was completely out of my control to fix. Like there was something had happened that I couldn't sort.
And
that was an uncomfortable place. Yeah, exactly. It was the other side of the world.
But you did have lots of cool people around you at the
I
time
did.
to sort of,
Yeah.
cool people, supportive people.
Yeah. So that was really lucky. But that was definitely a big challenge. It's weird what you were saying earlier on in Where's Your Body At about the anniversary. Every March I get in a real funk.
Yeah.
And it's usually halfway through the funk that I remember what happened in March.
Yeah.
And it's happened every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've kind of got to make space for it to happen and just accept that it's going to happen, really. That's kind of what it is.
I think that's a really good way of approaching it, like just letting it be.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely what was the difficult experiences.
Yeah,
those
definitely.
Those are ones that have been quite formative for me.
Yeah.
Like I've learned from those 2 experiences, I've learned so much about what's in my head and how it's connected to my body and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, what are you most proud of as a person?
Okay. Well,
another deep question
it
for
is
you.
It's a bit of a deep one. I'm gonna reach into my bag of absolute
deep answers,
vomit-inducing cliches and go.
Let's go.
Probably being a dad.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
would say.
I get that.
The whole experience of having children is, there's no way to talk about it without sounding like an arsehole. Just
it's okay.
Warning.
We'll just put the asshole disclaimer out there.
Yeah, put the
Go
arsehole
nuts.
disclaimer out there. But I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to have a kids. At some point, with when the I was about to say when the time was right, but what we've learned since then, there's actually no right time. So if you're waiting for the right time, it doesn't exist. Just FYI. I remember. This is so vomit-inducing. I remember the first time. It was quite a traumatic birth of my son Charlie, who came along first, and I remember 2 things quite specifically from that experience. One was the first time I held him, and I was just at that moment overwhelmed by this unconditional love I had for this little thing that I didn't even he didn't know me, he hadn't even seen me yet, he couldn't open his eyes.
Did he have some funny little facials going on?
He had a cone head. His head was all messed up. And he was like this little creature, and this going on while my wife's just been through this traumatic experience as well.
it's
She's
pretty real.
wasted at this point.
Yeah.
But this unconditional love, and I knew at that moment that I was just like, fuck, there is nothing I won't do to keep you safe. You know what I mean? And I'd never experienced that before in my life. It is like nothing else.
Yeah. A real force.
Yeah. That was kind of the first experience, and then another one was when I finally got home from the hospital, because I didn't get home for about 48 hours because my wife Laura was really quite sick. It was one of those funny ones where it was like, if it had been 50 years ago, then they both might not have actually made it. Like it was a bit hectic there for a while. But I was in there just kind of doing the job, doing what I was, looking after the baby, Charlie, looking after Laura. So I was just kind of getting on with it, just like, okay, got to do this now. And then it finally came a point where I was able to go home. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that feels kind of weird. And I did. I got home and went for a shower and lost my shit.
Whoa.
Like, lost my shit because I hadn't been able to for the previous 48 hours. But I was just in the shower, just losing my mind. Yeah, it was... I saved it all up, which is not something you're supposed to do. But then just kind of went.
But I think sometimes if you're in a situation where it's just like go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And you just have to do that stuff, and then you process
I
later.
felt great afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're quite good in those scenarios of there's things happening.
There is a problem to solve.
Let's do all the tasks.
Yeah.
Get through it, and then I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
Emotionally. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was
that's cool.
What was the question? What
are you most
proud of? Yeah, I know. I would say being a dad. Yeah, I do have another child as well, George. But as any parent who has more than one child will tell you, the second one's quite different. I didn't cry.
It's just like, oh shit.
It's like, oh yeah, all right, okay. What do you want
again,
now?
eh?
Yeah, I know. How do they work? How do they work when they're this
poopy
little again? How
nappies.
does that work?
Shit. Literally shit.
Yeah, literally. That's the weird kind of dichotomy about parenting, you know. It's just like
so
all this
real.
vibes about unconditional love, and then standing at the change table at 3:30 in the morning, going, "Why?
Oh God!
Why is this happening?"
You know, the whole. I do a lot of looking after of children, and
you know the struggle.
Yeah,
you know.
but the getting up in the morning, first thing in the morning, and changing a poopy nappy before you've even had a coffee.
It's
like,
not how you want to start your
holy
day.
Moses!
You can tell when you open the door and you get that tang, and you know. All right. Sometimes I just close the door and go make the coffee.
I guess, and you're sort of at the moment this sort of primary caregiver too, because you're a stay-home dad.
Yeah, well, I've just done 6 months being a stay-home dad, which is pretty good. And then, my wife's job is kind of the job that rules our house as well. So it controls quite a lot, and it's also quite a demanding job. Yeah, I've always been. She's always obviously had that 6 months at the start at home, because you've got to be mum at that start. You know, there's not much dad can do apart from do what he's told. Really, at the start. What does it need? What does mum need? What does it need? What does mum need? That's pretty much your life, you know? You hold the baby when you need to.
But I also think you gravitate towards that being that role, I think it feels quite natural for you to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, I know that the 6 months is quite long and potentially hard, but you do to do the caretaking role.
Yeah. I kind of do that in my family. Like I'm quite.
You are that. Like I think it's part of who you are.
Yeah. I'm quite maternal.
You are definitely. My brothers can be similar.
I mean, I think it's because my mum stayed at home, and I learned how to what her this amazing value she had was keeping the house and all this. It was quite a traditional. My dad went to work and my mum stayed at home. Like what a cliche, but I really valued all that stuff that she did for us, and that was a decision she made to do that instead of going out to work. So and that was a financial call they made.
Hustler.
Yeah, so I do.
And
Laura does the money.
Yeah.
I do pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
Do the cooking. It's safer that way.
So my next question is, how do you think we can be allies for each other in this world?
I will probably approach this from the same way as I've approached a lot of the other questions, which is to say, well, I'm a white guy.
Yeah. But
I might just give, if I may, a little bit of advice. It's my top tip. Grab a pen and write this down. How can we best be allies? Shut up and listen to people. Stop talking. It's ironic because
it.
I've just talked for half an hour.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Probably quite a lot more.
Just shut up and listen to what other people are saying. People who don't look like you, people who don't sound like you. Listen to what they are telling you and listen to what they are trying to say.
Yeah.
Don't go to those safe places of PC gone mad and all these these things. It's just what's happening with the world. What is this? Every time you're challenged, every time your preconceptions are challenged by something that makes you want to reach for that safety blanket of PC or blaming people.
Yeah.
Just try shutting the fuck up for a minute. You can do it. I believe in you.
Zip it.
You can
I
do
said
it.
Zip it already. Is there another one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But does that make sense?
Absolutely
is that too
makes
harsh?
sense. I think it's great
I think
thought.
it's amazing what you hear when you listen. I can't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast or not, but a couple of podcasts about feminism, The Guilty Feminist and Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies. Those are challenging for me to listen to. Because it does challenge everything I know and everything I think I'm doing right.
Yeah.
But listening to things like that
Yeah.
is the most amazing thing you can do for yourself, just to put yourself in the position. It's in a really dumb way. It's kind of what I was talking about with my small feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like just think about, like, now turn this example of how you feel, turn that into something that is equated to gender politics or identity or something in the LGBTQI space. Have empathy. I think empathy starts with stopping talking and listening. I think that's probably a good place to start being empathetic, maybe. I think that's probably how we can be better allies.
Yep, I'm on board with all of what you just said.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Tick that off. Good.
Awesome. So it is the quick fire fun round.
Oh,
my
yes.
golly. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Good. Let's go.
Teabag in the sink or butter in the fridge?
Fuck. Oh, I hate both of those things so much. But
this actually came from a real life
this came from a real life
Mike
scenario.
yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I wish I'd never said. I can live with a tea bag in the sink, but I cannot abide butter in the fridge.
Yeah.
You ever tried? How do you spread
It has a
that?
runoff effect,
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
It's gonna ruin my bread. Even toast. You can't even spread.
Clumpy butter
You
on the
can't
bread
put
is the
lumpy-
worst.
I cannot be done with it.
Second
already
question
exhausted
for you.
from this.
There's three.
Okay.
A cable tied incorrectly or a comma in the wrong place?
I will. Is it my cable? And is it something
I'm
I
doing a
wrote?
few eye rolls. You can't see them, but they're happening.
I mean, do I have to deal with the cable? That's what I'm saying. You know, do I have to look at it? I guess I do. I have to read the thing about it.
Yeah, well, you have to see it. You definitely have to see it, and that would be hard.
I will let the cable slide, but I'm not letting
Whoa.
the comma.
Whoa.
I'm not letting the comma go.
Holy shit, that is not what I thought you'd say.
Well, there we are.
Last question for you.
Cool.
Being late to your own itinerary
That happened today.
It did.
That was awkward.
or going with the flow?
I hate both of those things so much. I can fix being late for my own itinerary.
And you were today and you coped.
I was and I did.
Yeah. Going with
But
the
I
flow,
cannot
however.
go with the flow. Sorry, everyone. I can't do it. No, I will accept being late for my own itinerary.
Okay.
But I can't abide going with the flow.
Yeah.
Into the bin.
I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh.
A bit nervous about what I'm going to put in the bin
Why?
for fear of being torn to shreds.
Oh, I forgot.
But I'm not
what
on
you're
the
gonna put
I'm
into
not
the bin.
I'm not on the internet, so I won't see it. So it's
Yeah.
fine. I'm gonna put so this is referring to my
Oh yeah.
time
Okay. I
dadding and
remember.
my time being kind of the time that I've been like the, I suppose, primary caregiver.
Stay
of
home
children. But yeah,
dad.
but just being
Yeah.
a dad in general.
Mm.
I would like to put in the bin something that is put on a lot of baby guff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little sort of stamp, or it's a little tick, and it says "Mum approved."
Oh.
Ugh. It's not cool.
Now, the reason I'm nervous about putting it in the bin is I'm all for feminism empowerment of women, you know,
Yes.
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a very, very important thing happening there where that is kind of like a power to women thing in a way, but it's also a bit. It's I want dads to be better dads, right? I want dads to have the opportunity to be better dads.
Or parents.
Well,
Just be a parent.
Yeah. But I feel like you have to give them the space to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Mum Approved
It's
achieves that. It's not helpful.
Well, I think
Chosen by mums.
one thing that I would say to
You
this
know?
whole Mammoth Proof thing is it's actually part of patriarchy. It's creating that separation. So it's part of that shitty system. It's not that we're saying, you know, mums are the only parent or whatevs. It's just, it's definitely just part of that whole patriarchal society or patriarchal structure. I would have thought anyway.
And it's for commercial use. Like, it's doing it because it's wanting people to buy a product.
yeah.
But it also reinforces those,
Mm.
you know, cultural norms.
Well, what's interesting, right, is I feel like maybe I'm having a bit of a. I could be considered to be having a bit of a white wine about it, you know, like it's like, mum, you know, I'm not a mum, but it's like I look at that and I see those things on packages and what does that feel like to a same-sex couple? Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah.
Like, what is that wedge between?
Yeah, it's a language thing that isn't great. It's not appropriate. It's not inclusive.
It could say parent approved. or-
Yeah.
Well, that would be an ideal, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
But a lot, I mean, being devil's advocate, a lot
Please.
of mothers are in the position of looking after the children.
Of course.
There's a lot of female consumers.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of the household purchases, and it's just a fact of what's happening at the moment. So it is corporate targeting.
Yeah. And also there's, I think I have absolutely no proof to back this up, but I feel as though it must be the case that there are more mums on their own than there are dads on their own. But I would love to hear from someone who is absolutely not offended by it. Do you know what I mean? Who's someone who's just like, no, that's cool. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
If that person exists. Or I would love to hear from any other dads who are sick of seeing it.
What is the feeling that you
Or
get?
parents.
What is the feeling that you get from it?
Well, it just devalues any involvement I'm having in bringing up my kids. You know what I mean? It's like I was saying before. It kind of like it doesn't allow that space for men to be better at
Yeah.
things that we all agree as a society.
It's
they should
almost
be
like a
better
bit
at.
of it's like a way to structure society so that we can keep that separation intact for conformity around being a parent, you know?
And it's it leads on to things that I've kind of moaned to
Yeah.
you about before as well,
Yeah.
where you know things where. Like if I'm out with the kids or something like that,
Oh
and
my
people will
God,
say
yes.
something like, "Oh,
Yeah.
good on you, daddy daycare today," is it all this kind
Yeah,
of stuff?
fudge.
And I took Georgie to the doctor just before
Yeah.
we came back from Nelson because there was all sorts of fluids coming out of her
Yeah.
because children are disgusting. And I took her.
It's all sorts of fluids coming out of you, but you
Yeah.
know, you just don't have to like manage them.
I just mop them up myself. you know?
Yeah.
And at the reception at the doctor's, just getting all checked in with this receptionist. Who said she just kind of said something along the lines of once we had us all checked in, and she said, "So it's your turn with the kids today, is it?" And I said, "Oh no, that's every day. I'm at home." And she said, "Oh, good on you." And
Like, you should get a round of applause.
Oh,
you
round
know.
of applause, Mike, for being a parent. Oh my
but it made me
God.
feel two things. I meant you're genuine. You're absolutely genuine when you say that, and I do appreciate that
Yeah.
because she acknowledges that there is not enough of that happening, but also it sucks that it has to be
Yeah.
acknowledged and given that little sarky round of applause, you know, the
Oh.
metaphorical one and the
Yeah,
physical one that happened
yeah.
here.
It's kind of like how you went to buy a TV with Laura or something like that.
Yeah.
And the person
That's
came
right.
straight up to you.
And
About-
Laura was making the.
Oh, it was Laura's credit
yeah,
card.
yeah.
I'm not allowed one.
Yeah. She was making the purchase,
Banned.
but the person came to you because it was assumed that you're
Yeah.
buying the expensive products. And
Yeah,
when you go to
from
the
a-
supermarket, it's assumed that the women are buying those
Yeah.
products. So you're throwing...
I'm gonna put Mum Approved in the bin.
Yep. Do it. Put it in
I
there.
think it's got to go in the bin.
It's
Yeah.
not that...
It
you're
should
not
be
approving-
parent
It
approved.
should be parent approved.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not approving of mums. It's that you're...
No, mums are great.
Yeah.
I'm all for mums. You know, all of us who are parents are parents. We're not just these stereotypes. You know, we are all working towards the same thing, which is trying to do the best we can for our children
Yeah,
so that they can be whatever they want to be.
exactly. All right,
So yeah,
into the bin.
yes, please bin it.
Bin.
Okay, that's exclusively binned. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
My cool stuff is podcast.
Oh, that's on point, isn't it?
Oh.
You do love a podcast.
I bloody love a podcast.
Mhm.
You were right to stare worryingly at my notebook because this is a list.
It's such a big list.
I have got like a rapid fire
Yay!
podcast suggestion thing. It's in
Go, go,
themes.
go.
I've themed it. My themes are lols, politics, and smart stuff. Not everyone's going to be into each theme,
That's
but
fine.
laughing
Lols,
is
poles, and smarts.
lols, pols, and smarts. Yeah,
Yeah.
lols, pols, and nolls for knowledge.
Oh,
Lols, pols, and
Poles,
nolls.
nolls.
Wow. Lols. Here we go. Right. These are the ones you got to listen
Okay.
to. Write this down. Rapid fire. The Beef and Dairy Network podcast. It's a satirical take on a trade show podcast. It's freaking amazing.
Okay.
Birthday Girl's House Party. We've
Oh,
both
I
been
love
into
that one. Me
Just-
and Mike used to talk about it
It's
together.
really, really good. This
It's-
amazing crew of funny women from the UK.
They're just really sassy airs, and they're
So
just hanging
sassy.
out, having a fun time.
Cool.
The Bugle is like peak satire. It's like global political satire. It's amazing. The Horn Section podcast. You know that song I've been singing all day?
Oh,
Thick
yeah,
and
those.
creamy. That's how I like my milk.
Beef.
Thick and creamy. Yeah. The Horn
That's how
Section
I like my
podcast.
chips.
Go and get that. One I've just discovered recently, which is incredible, is The Dollop, which is an American history podcast where a historian explains a story to his mate. He's a comedian. They loll about it. Friday night comedy from Radio 4. No Such Thing as a Fish.
I haven't heard of any of these.
No,
I'm
well,
so
this is
excited.
what happens
How do
whenever
you have the time
anyone-
to listen?
Because you just do it all the time. Like I listen to
I listen
stuff
to them
when
all
I just
the time.
fluffing about.
The Richard
Yeah.
Herring
Driving.
Leicester Square Theatre podcast. That's amazing. There's an amazing mini-series called Capital, which takes the referendum in Britain about Brexit and
Yeah.
turns that into a drama about that being about capital punishment. And then you're in the
Oh.
team that's been designated to make that
Yeah,
thing happen,
yeah.
the capital punishment department. It's
Yeah.
devastatingly funny. It's
Okay.
amazing. And the big one for all three of us,
Yeah.
In
My-
the
I've been
lulls.
waiting.
We're going to say it together.
MD WAP, my dad wrote
Wrote
a
a
porno.
porno. So funny.
That was a big kind of coming together for us, wasn't it?
Crap,
That was a bonding moment.
That was, man. Wow. Such a good podcast.
That's pretty much. I've probably missed heaps out, but that's my lols section. Okay, I'm going to blast through the polls.
Yeah, there was a lot of lols.
Yeah,
there's
and well,
heaps.
it's the biggest list.
Yeah.
because most of mine are lols. So in politics, I'm consumed by British politics at the moment. It's like the
Brexit.
best TV show no one ever wrote. So Brexit Cast, Podlitical, Political Thinking with Nick Robinson and the Political Party, all bangers, all UK based. So if you're
Yeah.
listening in the UK, they're all amazing. And Pod Save America in the US as
It's
well.
a good name.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
It's got a real funny theme tune. It's all guys that used to work for Barack Obama,
Yeah.
so it's completely
Oh, wow.
biased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Utterly biased.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's really cool. And then I've got my last one is my knolls, my smart stuff. These are all the ones
Love the
that
knolls.
Is it our podcast?
no, well, I haven't included it actually. I should have done, but it would be in here.
Yeah. it's
Would it be in
assumed.
that one, or
It
would
would
it
be
be
in
in a
here.
different section? Would be in.
It would be in just a list of its own called the best podcast. So smart stuff. The whole stuff you should know network.
Yeah.
Like stuff you should know, ridiculous history, stuff they don't want you to know. They're all
Yeah.
amazing.
Chunky.
The Guilty Feminist and Feminists Don't Wear Pink are in there. The Daily from the New York Times. It's
yeah.
incredible. And one that I really enjoyed was, it's still going actually, but Word of the Gay.
Oh, that one's really good.
Yeah,
It's
that
real
is really
good. It's these
yeah.
two Australians, and they talk about words from like sort of gay, well, I guess kind of LGBTQI.
The vocab.
Yeah, the vocab,
Yeah.
and they
Where they
explain
came
it.
from. Yeah, that is really cool.
That was another one where I was just like having my mind melted. So it's another one of those like enforced empathy ones, you know,
Okay.
which I love.
Yeah.
Where you put yourself in a space that isn't
Yeah,
yours
yeah,
and you
yeah.
learn.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I was talking about. Shut
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
up and listen.
Yeah,
like
shut the
that.
fuck
That
up.
was
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah.
That wasn't a direction to Sarah. Just FYI.
Shut the
Gemma.
fuck up and listen, Sarah.
Gemma was just like, what the fuck is happening?
Okay, whatever, Mike.
Okay, that concludes my quick fire podcast you should listen to list.
I love it.
Listen to podcasts. We like podcasts.
Thanks, Mike.
That's all right.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing those with us.
That's all right.
That's
I guess you'll be back for next episode, eh?
I
Yeah.
will, eh?
Yeah, I was just like, I Guess you'll be back. No.
Gemma's got to do it next.
Oh my god.
He will be back. He'll be back for Where's Your Body At and Into the Bin and
Cool stuff.
cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.